Well, as we think about generative and agentic AI, as we think about different collaborations between PMI and the Agile Alliance, as we think about the next generation of leaders, decision makers of work, how will we navigate change? More importantly, how will we leverage the latest technology to bring our best to life? My name is JQ. I'm probably the only person you'll ever meet who can pronounce his full name in just 2 letters. It's JQ. Kind of like if Jay-Z and GQ had a baby and it was Asian, that would be me. For those of you who are curious, in case you're like, hey, where's that last name from? I'm originally from Singapore. Any Singaporeans in the house? No, okay, just me. Oh, okay. So, Singapore represent. By the way, there are only like 5 million of us in the world, so I see you. I see you. Singapore is both the place of my birth, but also the place of my first disruption. You see, at 8 months old, my aunt, she's babysitting me. She's babysitting baby Jay, and she thinks to herself, hey, Jay's kind of cute. I should take some pictures. She pulls out one of those old film cameras. The lighting's a bit dark, so she starts snapping, and she's using flash. As she gets those photos developed, our family notices a little something weird. You see, in every photo where flash was used, there's a little red dot right above my left eye. It's cancer. 7 tumors. We rush in to talk to the ophthalmologist. We enucleate my left eye, and I'm left half blind with a prosthetic at the age of 1. And I don't say this for pity, by the way, but I say this because life, in general, disrupts us. We face disruption every day. All of you do, right? We all do. And if you thought that the disruption ended at 1, no, not for any of us, right? Because my parents were DJs, radio disc jockeys, and so we ended up moving a lot. We moved 8 times before I was 12 years old. For any third culture kids in the room, for any military kids in the room, right? You probably get it. You're moving from school to school, and if you don't make friends, you're alone for the semester. We moved so much, we ended up in beautiful Vancouver, BC, where I settled down, and that's where I'm from right now. So I'm from Vancouver, Canada. Oh, okay. All right. A few more. There's like 3 of us. I like it. There's 1 Singaporean and 3 Vancouverites. I love it. And so that was the place where I got to experience a lot more of the changes. In fact, I like change so much, I decided to make a career out of it. I found myself in the world of transformations. I feel like most of you all know the stats, right? But I do want to throw out a few that are really fascinating today. With all of the transformations that we're going through, every single year, we waste $2.6 trillion, whether it's in new digital transformations, whether it's in new AI, right? According to IDC and a few other stats combined. And yet, despite this, only 1 out of 3 projects, right, as Pierre was alluding to, only 1 out of 3 projects tend to gain a lot of traction. And this year is no different. BCG did a report, and they started to look at the state of generative and agentic AI in the workplace. And what they found was that even this year, nothing's changed. 74% of orgs and transformations in agentic particularly are failing to scale value. You see, most people think that we have a technology problem, but we don't. Because we don't move at the speed of technology. We already have that. We actually move at the speed of the enterprise. That's why enterprise agility feels very, very relevant today. And I don't think that we have a technology problem. I think that we have a people problem. But we could reframe that, right? We don't have a technology problem. We actually have a people opportunity here. Because there is a certain subset of groups, of organizations. In fact, 4% of organizations have unlocked the value. of agentic AI. And for those of the orgs who do, the results are absolutely staggering. This is again from the BCG report, but high revenue growth, more returns, more innovation patents. And the one that I'm most fascinated by, employees are just more satisfied. My hypothesis is that because they are the ones using agentic AI so well, they feel like they're at the cutting edge of the latest technology. And I think it all starts with our relationship with this word, disruption. I know it's overused. Disruption's been around for a while, right? And I think about our relationship with disruption even on a Friday. In fact, on Friday, I was hanging out with my buddy. His name is B, and he says to me, he's a software developer, and he says to me, hey, Jay, I need to tell you what's going on. Just this past week alone, I've been in my company about 4.5 years, and they just reorged us. Anyone else been through a reorg? You're like, yeah, daily part of my life, right? What is your change mindset as you're going through something like a reorg? It could be any change, right? But my company, my firm, we run the Change Fluency company, and we did research with about 400 different executives over the past few years. And what we found with change mindsets is there's actually an easy way to dissect this. A, what's your change interpretation? So are you seeing change as a threat or an opportunity? And then B, what's your change response? So are you frozen, stuck, resistant, or are you adaptive? Well, I asked B, I said, hey, you just went through a reorg right now. What's going on with your team? And he says, man, it's like you took a deck of cards and then just played pickup 52, right? It's just scattered. Everyone got scattered. And one of my friends, we've been friends for a while, he's like on the observer state, right? He sees it as an opportunity, but he's just stuck. He's thinking to himself, yeah, this is fine. I'll just wait and see what happens. The next change mindset is the defender state. Kind of like Jon Snow in the Game of Thrones, right? It's like, we built this wall, we're going to defend it. So one of his colleagues, right, she had built this platform stack for like the last 3.5 years, and she's like, no, I don't want to move. I built this. This is my product. And you're just going to move me? It's a threat. The next change mindset is if I'm seeing change as a threat, but I am adaptive, I might start to head into a bit of a sabotage state, right? Kind of like Pete the Prospector, Stinky Pete from Toy Story. You're smiling, you're thinking, hey, yeah, change, this is great. I love change. I love change. Do you love change? And then deep down, you're like, I'm going to kill this project so hard. And then last but not least, of course, if I see change as an opportunity and I'm willing to adapt, how do I be in a change-fluent state? Kind of like Mr. Miyagi, Karate Kid. That's actually Brian, right? By the way. I was like, hey, how do you feel about this change? And he thinks to himself, I feel pretty good, actually. I get to try new things. I'm in a different team. But I was kind of getting bored of the other one. He's like, I love my team members to death. I'm really excited about this change. I can't wait. So that brings us the question, what is change fluency? Well, the way we define it is it's an individual's adaptive capacity to translate challenges into opportunities. Kind of like learning a language or second language, right? If I dropped you in Bangkok, right, you might learn a few languages here, or the words or phrases here and there. But if I embed you in the culture for a little bit, you're going to pretty soon be saying, oh yeah, Kap Kun Kap, Sawadee Kap, right? All of that. Thai, represent. Okay, I heard the woo-woo in the house. Got it. And so as we think about what this means for change, what contributes to how fluid we are when it comes to navigating all of this? So over the next bit, I'm going to unpack the 3 pillars and principles of what contributes to a change fluency mindset. And that's this. How do we discover what's possible? How do we design the future? And then how do we differentiate from the standard? But let's start with the first one. How do we discover what's possible? Back in 2017, I would have considered myself a minimalist. I owned 10 pairs of clothing, a laptop, a suit, and that was it. And my wife and I, we bought our first home together, which in Vancouver, homes are pricey, so we bought an apartment. And then I stopped becoming a minimalist because we moved into the apartment. By the way, this is Teresa. We moved in the apartment, it was empty. You're like, yes, Jay, that's how apartments work. They're empty when you buy them. But we asked ourselves the question, what matters now? And what mattered now is we needed a kitchen appliances, TVs, a sofa, you name it. And my living room started to pile up with all this stuff. The pandemic hit. We went ahead and got ourselves a pandemic puppy. Any dog owners in the room, by the way? Yeah, okay. Whistles, oh, we're getting there. This is Brooklyn, he's a Shiba Inu. He's an absolute pain in my ass. But I love him to death. We bought him, we said, hey, what matters now? And what mattered now was we needed a dog crate, toys, treats, and my living room just keeps on piling up with stuff in this small 756 square foot apartment. Well, the pandemic continued and we didn't have anything else to do. Madison came along and we asked ourselves the same question. We asked ourselves, what matters now? And go ahead and yell it out. What kind of items do you think we bought when Madison came along? Go ahead and shout it out. Diapers, yeah. I hear crate? Crib, oh, sorry, my bad. No one's putting their kids in crates. Yeah, diapers, cribs, toys, you name it. And bottles, thank you. You're like, bro, you can't forget the bottles. And I'm sitting in my living room, I'm surrounded by all of this stuff. And I realized I've been asking myself the wrong question. You see, I've been asking myself the question, what matters now? When I should have been asking myself the question, what matters most? What matters most? And so if I think about discovering what's possible, it actually requires us to zoom out, to zoom in. Because today in 2025, we're inundated with noise, right? Amen? Now more than ever before, we're inundated with noise. And honestly, I kind of feel like this panda trying to figure out life. Take a look. Yep. It's a tough life for a panda out there, I'll tell you that. And I think it's because when we think about noise, most of us try to ignore it, or we try to avoid it. But the truth is this, is that navigating the noise is actually what gets us the signal. Navigating the noise is what gets us the signal. And so here are a few signals that I think are happening in our world, in the agile world. Number one, our behavior is shifting. Our behavior is fundamentally shifting. You see, one example is search has shifted from information to insight. A few years ago, I would have used Google to search up anything. And now I'm opening an app like Perplexity. If the stock market crashed, I'm pulling up saying, hey, the stock market crashed. What's a value stock that I should be buying? And right away, it's giving me, based on live data, here are 5 value stocks at a very good PE ratio that you could consider for your portfolio. It's giving me insight. It's not just giving me answers. The second signal that I've noticed is that we've moved from disruption to displacement. About a year ago, I took a look at about 50 million ChatGPT conversations that I said, hey, what are people using ChatGPT for? And these were the results, even a year ago. No surprise here, the number one example was just images and videos, right? Images and videos. So I want to play a game with you. It's called Real or Fake. I'm going to show you a quick clip, and then I'm going to count you down, say 3, 2, 1, and you're just going to yell out if you think it's real or if it's fake. Sound good? Okay, so 3, 2, 1. Y'all saw this. Cool. It's fake. That was OpenAI's Sora model. That was about a year ago in March 2024. What about this one? 3, 2, 1. Of course, it's got to be real, right? Someone's like, Jay, you have a thing for pandas. This is also fake. This was a Chinese model called Kling AI. one of the best models in terms of textures, right? Creating things like visual animals, you name it. I've got one more for you.
I mean, man, the acceleration is crazy. You look far, step on the pedal, and you are there.
3, 2, 1. OK, can someone just yell out, why do you think that's fake? You saw it last week? Yeah, so Google Veo launched Veo 3 probably about a few weeks ago now. And this came out. And what they've gotten really good at is being able to model how people are interviewed or people are talking, which brings up a whole series of implications when it comes to deepfakes. And it's led me to this third signal, which is that this. I don't think work is work anymore. I think work has definitely shifted to orchestration. What do I mean by that? If you think about the 5 levels of AI intelligence, right, you have chatbots. We checked that off in 2023. We got to PhD reasoning. That was a bit about last year in October. We then now are in the space over the past 6 to 9 months of agents being new. Just a few weeks ago, OpenAI launched agents for ChatGPT. But then so did Google when it came to Opal. That was what, Thursday? But I don't think that matters, because that's what matters now. And I'd encourage us to think, OK, well, what actually matters most? And what matters most is where we're going. Because in the future, pretty closely, we're going to have AI-powered innovations. We see that in healthcare already. But then what would an entirely AI-powered organization look like? Because a lot of startups are actually building AI native, right? They're thinking, how do I run a $100 million company with 10 of us? What would that look like? And so it's fascinating, right, as you start to think about AI. Don't ask what matters now, because all of the hype, you see it. You see it in your screens, your news feeds. But ask yourself, out of this, what matters most? What matters most, I think, is really cool. Is when you think about agentic AI, it's actually pretty cool, right? Our workflows are being redesigned. If I have an idea, I can build out an agent to start to do the design, the research, to write. If I don't like what it's doing, I can have it iterate on itself. I had OpenAI's agent last week book me a reservation, not because I needed it to. I could have picked up the phone, but I just wanted to try it out, right? Discovering what's possible. It's really fascinating. This came out about a month ago from the CEO of Anthropic, Claude, the Claude platform. And this struck me a little. He said, our devs are orchestrating multiple Claude instances like conductors. 90% of code will be written by AI within 10 months. And we're already at 70%. And what that is leading us to me, when I think about what matters most, is that our org charts are actually going to start to shift. Here's one I mocked up, but here's the sample, right? You're not going to just have VPs of sales and HR and ops and product anymore. What we are going to do is we're going to have those people still there and AI leads for their functions, because you're going to need someone to create all of the agents to do the stuff, but also to oversight, to think about human in the loop, all of these things. Now, I've been chatting for a while, and part of this conference, the purpose of this is not just for me to speak to you. It's actually for you to unpack what's going on live in your worlds. So I'm going to give you about 3 minutes, and here are a few ideas. But I'm curious, in your world, just turn to the person next to you if willing. If you want to just chill out for the next 3 minutes, feel free to do that too. But what matters most when you think about the world of Agile? Maybe it's AI and automation. Maybe it's AI skepticism. Maybe it's an evolution of Agile rule. I don't know. Maybe it's something that's not even on this page. But we'll get the lights up a little bit. 3 minutes, just turn to the person next to you. What do you think matters most when it comes to Agile? Ready?